Hello, how's everybody doing today? Hi, Belinda.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone.
It's the new year has started as exciting as 2020 was, it seems. New year, similar challenges. Actually, as I mentioned in the email this week, one of the best practices is not so much about creating New Year resolutions, but New Year reflections. And, I think with everything that has happened so far, 7 days in, just really creating that space for our reflections and our resiliency makes so much sense. So before we get started too much more into this, I want to just give people the space for a check-in, and we're going to make this super easy. We have a poll, and in it, there's a choice. And the idea is to really put any expectations, appreciations, or distractions that you might be having down. And so, we can use the chat to really just let some of these things go so that we can be fully present in the time that we have together. And so you should be seeing a poll up right now. And you can interpret these things as you need for yourself.
And if you have something in the other category, feel free to chat what that other is. Just to acknowledge, we've already had a full day, some of us. What are we bringing into this space? And just acknowledging that.
Let's see, how's the group feeling? Lots of distraction. It's, I think, no surprise there. But a good amount of appreciations and some holding of expectations. If you want to elaborate on what any of those are in the chat, again, this purpose of this is to let it go so that you can be present. There's two rules for these gratitude circles, as Belinda and I came together around this. Rule number one is that you are your best inner teacher. And so today's experience is about giving yourself some time and space to recognize what's working for you. And so if a prompt or a question, a breath work moment isn't working for you, it's all good. Listen to that. But the second rule is that there is no fixing, advising, or saving of anyone else. And these really two practices bring together what I love about gratitude. And gratitude has these two wings. One wing is your self-care, and the other wing is social connection. And the gratitude circle gives us a moment to fly with both wings. A lot of these practices end up being by yourself, and sometimes those individual day-to-day practices are good. It's also important to recognize that we're not alone, and how we sort of practice together is really important. There's Krista Tippett is the head, hosts a show called On Being. And she says that how we talk with one another shapes how we live with one another. And so this space gives us a chance to talk with one another in a way that shows how we can live with one another in the world. Anything else that you want to start off with, Belinda, before we get into it?
Yeah, I just love to acknowledge that there's new and familiar faces here. So also, if you like to use the chat to share where you're calling from, just to see who's here, maybe there's a neighbor in this space that you don't even know. So yeah, feel free to use the chat as our journal, as our group thread. And also with these circles, there's just like Omar said, with the two wings, really own your own experience. So if you're feeling like your call um, to share verbally, please do that. If you're someone who likes to be more of a observer and kind of silently to yourself be reflecting, that's okay too. So by no means do you ever feel like, you know, you have to express in one way or the other. Just really tune into what you're feeling and what your comfort levels are too. So we're going to offer you a lot of different ways to connect with the second wing in this community, whether it's through the chat or verbally. So just wanted to share that as well. It's just really tuning into your own comfort level. And it's lovely to see where everyone's coming from.
This is
So
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah, from the Pacific Northwest to Midwest to East Coast to Texas and Virginia. I love it. This is awesome. Thank you all for joining us. This is the fourth gratitude circle that Belinda and I have co-hosted together in the last month. And so it's just exciting to kind of see this community growing. So just the flow, I'm going to lead us off with a couple of breath work exercises. And then that will lead into the gratitude blooming exercise, which is the pulling of prompts. Partly why I love this setup with Belinda is that she's got these beautiful cards that are physical cards, but for COVID and these times, she's also created a digital edition. And there are 39 cards that are inspired by nature, and it really provides, and each one has a prompt on it. And what it does is it provides a moment of synchronicity. And when I say synchronicity, what I mean is beautiful coincidence. So how do we find sort of moments of beautiful coincidence to sort of deepen sort of an awareness of what's within ourselves, hold space to listen to others, and we'll do a couple of rounds of that. And then we'll close with another gratitude moment. So without further ado, I invite you to kind of get settled in a position that is comfortable for you, feeling maybe your feet or your body grounded in the physical space around you. And I'm going to do a little bit of commentary as we go through this breathwork exercise, because I just finished reading this book around breathing. And I thought I knew a lot about breathing through all the meditation and gratitude work, but this really went into the history pre-yoga, more than 5,000 years ago, to the latest science around breathing. And I'm just going to sort of share two takeaways from this book. One is just the power of our nose. It's almost this magical piece of technology, if you will, is our nose itself, from the filtering and the fact that breathing in through one nostril versus the other nostril activates either our more rational side or our parasympathetic sort of nervous system and relaxes us. And so just really appreciating breathing in through our nose. The other thing as we're about to go through this exercise is our exhale. 4 years ago, I had just finished running my second marathon, and I'm not a runner. And so it was literally going from a couch to 5K to 10K to half marathon to 2 marathons. And doing that when you're in your early 40s, I can tell you took some beating on my body, and I have been in some physical pain for the last 4 years. And within 2 days of focusing on my exhale, almost daily pain that I've experienced the last 4 years has gone away. And so, I just share that this power of our breathing, meditation, sometimes I think it can get either really metaphysical, or we're just sort of saying, hey, I'm just going to be calm. But I really felt sort of a physiological change in a very transformative way. And so I sort of invite that into the space right now. So I'm going to do a counted breath. And if you're familiar with box breathing, this is a modification of it. So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, hold for 2. And I'll count it off, and we're going to do 6 rounds of this. So we're going to breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, 2. In 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2. In 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2, 3, 4. Release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, 2. In 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, 2. In 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, 2. Last one. In 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Release 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, 2. Now go ahead and just let your breath return to its natural rhythm. For some, it might have pushed their breathing a little bit. For others, it might have felt comfortable. Distractions may have come up. Just go ahead and just let whatever you're feeling, feel it. I heard the other day, letting go means just letting be. So just let your breath be however it is. So for this last exercise, we're only going to do one round of it, but this is the exercise that fundamentally changed my physiology over the last week. And it's just an exhale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cue you for just like a normal breath in, and then I'm going to count. And I want you to just almost like you're having like a straw, just slowly let the air out. And at some point you'll be like, oh, I'm out of air. And then I want you to really focus on your abdomen and find the little pockets of air that are sitting there. And it was in finding those little pockets of air and tightening my abdomen that actually sort of reduced, if not eliminated, a lot of the pain that I've been in. And then like helped me sleep in a way that I haven't been able to in a very long time. And the goal, we're only going to do this once, but is to try to do this 10 times a day. And the goal is to get to a 30-second exhale. So when I started, I was at a 10-second exhale. I'm now at around a 20-second exhale. Stop when it works, when you're out. This is not about winning some award here. And the exhale should be enough that when you breathe in, you can actually breathe in through your nostril. So don't hold or exhale so long that then you have to gasp for air in. So you want to release enough out that you can still calmly breathe in through your nostrils. Okay? So regular breath in and release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. How are people feeling? Feel free to access your mic or share in the chat how that experience was for you.
I didn't yawn on that one.
No yawning, okay. Relax. Thank you, Tammy. It was hard. There's some honesty, Lori. It should be hard. Like I said, it was just sort of realizing how much I'm not exhaling. It gave me a whole new appreciation for the term waiting to exhale. So, Belinda, looser but harder to exhale. Amy, I loved how the air rushes back in. Yes. Charlie.
Yeah, I was kind of amazed at how much I could recruit from my abdomen that I don't normally access. So, you know, that by just using my abdominal muscles was interesting.
Yeah. Well, and that was, I think, part of in the abdominal muscle area is your psoas, which is like your emotional muscle. It literally is the muscle that allows your knee to bend. And so when you talk about fight or flight, it's your psoas muscle that literally allows you to run, right? And so tightening it with your abdomen is real. Teresa says hard. And so from this place, from within our own bodies, different thoughts probably came in to you. Was there anything in particular, and maybe it was from the beginning, an appreciation, a distraction, an expectation that you were holding? Maybe it was something within just the box breathing or the modified box breathing that we did. What might be something, the challenge or an opportunity that you might be feeling right now? And feel free to share what that challenge or opportunity is in the chat as a journal, again, only by invitation. And this will now sort of tee up Belinda as she walks us through the gratitude blooming prompts.
Yeah, just going to give everyone a minute to transition, sharing anything that was challenging in the chat or what's coming up for you. I love noticing how there's a softness to our eyes in this group. I'm also feeling that for myself. Wow, I'm arriving. One of the hardest things for me about the first breathing exercise was I had to be really present to follow the steps. And I found my mind kind of wandering a little bit and then, oh wait, you're supposed to stop breathing, pause. So just noticing that was, just presence can be so challenging at times. And one of the greatest gifts of this space is being present for ourselves and each other right now. So with that, I just want us to kind of notice in our openness of breath, just get into our hearts a little bit. So if it's helpful, put your hand to your heart or just expand a little bit your chest from this place of just openness from our breath. And I'm going to take us through the experience of synchronicity with these messages from nature. And literally, an artist in San Francisco was inspired to sketch these plants, and a word came through that process of sketching. And it was a very meditative experience for her. Her name is Arlene Kim Suda. And I'm excited for us to kind of experience that, that peace and connection that nature brings us, and also the insight that can come in familiar or even unexpected ways. So from this place of openness in our hearts, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to do a couple rounds of seeing what insight wants to emerge in this new year, this new beginning for all of us. And we're going to have different volunteers for each round. Pick a card for the collective and just see what comes up. You know, it could be something really obvious, or it could be something kind of mysterious that's emerging for us as we're hearing what other people are sharing. And as Omar said, you know, you are your inner leader and your inner teacher. And this is really an opportunity for you to really connect with that side of you, to see what's emerging. And it could be inspired by the group. So we really would just want to encourage you to share insights for yourself as they emerge in this practice. And when we're in, after we pick the prompt for the group, you're going to have a chance to kind of share either in the journal or verbally what's coming up for you. And in the Zoom, we just found this new feature. Maybe some of you already know it, but in the bottom right-hand corner of the menu, there is actually a button for reactions. So I'm going to just play with it right now for a minute, just to show you all, like, this is a way for us to acknowledge each other in the space without breaking the energy of the collective. So I encourage you all to play with that feature as we share. And if something really resonates with you, you know, let someone know through that reaction emoji. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so you all can see the 39 cards. They're all scrambled in a different order. So nothing is by alphabetical order. They're kind of mixed up. And we're going to ask for a volunteer, and maybe let's give a chance to someone who's never done this before to pick a card for the collective. And so if someone's interested in signing up for that role, feel free you could raise your hand, or
there's a raise your hand emoji too. So
oh yeah, or raise your physical hand or your emoji hand. And Omar, if you could pick on the person, since my screen is like big with the cards.
Anybody want to play with synchronicity? And this
for the collective.
I will.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori.
Okay.
So I'm going to move the screen, and it's kind of like Wheel of Fortune.
And I just
tell
click
me
on?
when to, just tell me when to stop, and I'll click the card for you with my cursor. So just tell me which row you're feeling called.
Okay. Stop.
Okay.
Okay. Go with your little thing, go up one and over one. There.
This one?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Let's see what this card reveals for us today.
That's awesome.
Healing.
This card came up last time too, I believe.
Twice, I think.
Yeah.
You want to read it for us, Belinda?
Sure. So it's the 24th card, and it's represented by the peony plant here in the sketch. And it says, taking the time to heal yourself is an expression of gratitude for this one wild and precious life you've been given. How can you support your own healing?
And so just for those that are new to this practice, remember we invited you to have an inquiry about what sort of opportunity or challenge you might be facing, and if this card sort of evoked something for you, or maybe something else. And people are invited to share. We'll start with you, Lori, if you'd like.
Okay.
And the only rule is it's not about commenting or advising or fixing anybody else. So nobody else is responsible for anybody else's healing except themselves. So
It surprised me quite a bit because I've been sick since last Tuesday with, I don't know what, just a bunch of weird symptoms. So I went and got tested. I haven't gotten the results yet, but I went and did the COVID testing just because, but I don't think that's what it is, but I don't know what it is. But I also have other things that I struggle with continuously with my rheumatoid arthritis, and knowing that everything I eat affects whether I have inflammation or not, and not being real good about that while I'm cooped up in the house and kind of isolating. I've been eating too much, which is bad for my health. And so healing is on my mind a lot, especially right now. So that was very surprising.
And feel free to just, we're going to do it. This is like popcorn style. So if you want to go, please go.
I'll go. This was really kind of awesome for me because I hurt my shoulder a couple months ago, and I did do a PT, thing for it, but I never really followed through with the exercises. But I'm aware that this breathing holds some promise for really working on that, and the rest of my chest that's kind of worked around that pain. And so when I saw the healing card and reflected back on my comment in the chat about the challenge of actually doing something, it actually prompts me to say, I I don't like the should part, but I need to spend more time in my own healing instead of ignoring and just kind of moving on. That was an interesting synchronicity for me.
And I'll just read from the chat. Linda shares nature, sunsets, and my orchid plant. There we go. Karen, emotional healing through acknowledgement and journaling. Tammy, I can let go of fear and things that I don't have control over. Thank you.
The prompt is back on the screen here.
And for those of you know, there's a slider in Zoom so that you can actually expand your gallery view and shrink the share screen view. So if you want to be able to kind of see more faces or more of the card, just so you know that that's possible. Karen.
I wanted to reflect on is it Charlie who was just talking about the shoulder? So 15 months ago, I had a bicycle accident and broke my right humerus and required surgery, and might not have had any range of motion or up to 50% if I didn't have surgery. And I was really anxious about it. And I've got to say, I have 98% range of motion now, and breathing and gratitude were the two practices that really got me through that whole year. And now I'm doing emotional work because I survived the physical, and you can too, hopefully.
Thank you. Amy, oh, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm new here. I totally get what you say about having to do the emotional work. Sorry if I get emotional. Today I found out that I'm being released from Lyme disease. It's been a 5-year long battle. And I think I need to work on the emotional part of letting that go. So thank you for saying that. It's been a long road. It's been a very long road. Late stage Lyme is no joke. When they tell you that you go from running, I identified with Omar with the marathons. I was a 5K runner, running. That's what I did for exercise. I was a trail runner, running 4 or 5 times a week through the trails, and enjoying the outside, enjoying running, great for my stress level. And suddenly came to a screeching halt. And with the diagnosis of maybe not walking again, let alone running. Everything was taken away. Everything that I found safe, that I found for relief, absolutely everything, from even reading because of the migraines, 17 migraines a month from Lyme disease. You don't function well with that kind of stuff. And so today I got the news that it's in remission, and it's been 5 years of antibiotics and up to 24 pills a day at one time. And it definitely teaches you to stay in the moment, because that's what you get. You get moment to moment. That's what you get. And that's all you get. So I survived Corona with Lyme. I want the t-shirt. I want the t-shirt that says I crushed Corona with Lyme, Lyme. It took me 4.5 months to get through it. But I did it. And so I'm on the side of it. So yeah, it's the emotional letting go, and also the what's next, you know? So of course I want to get back out there, and I'm ready to hit the pavement today. That's going to take some time, a lot of conditioning. Couch to 5K is a great way to describe it. The couch and I have been best friends for 5 years. I'm ready to give that relationship up, but it's going to take time. So the healing card was very special. And I patience with myself, I think, even though my brain is ready to go, I've got to give time for my body to catch up. So gratitude helped so much during that healing process. It's hard to find things to be grateful for when you literally can't get out of bed without somebody getting you out of bed. And when you've been a runner and you've been the doer and you've been the one to do all those things, and you're asking for help, it's hard to find things to be grateful for. So you start with the little stuff. You know, I opened my eyes. I can turn over by myself. I made it to the bathroom by myself today. I put my own socks on. Yeah, it got to that point. But I think that's what I was supposed to learn. Yeah, I think that's what I was supposed to learn. So thank you for this very much. And thank you for mentioning the emotional healing. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
It's beautiful to feel like we're not alone in our suffering and in our gratitude, and spaces like this are such good reminders of that. Does anyone have anything else that you feel connected to with regards to healing, or even the flower itself? Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nicole. So when I was reading this, and similar to Charlie, I connected it back to what I put in the chat in time for myself, because that's what this moment is for me. And healing, as I was looking at this, was coming in terms of like the emotional health, and really I'm a school principal and a single mom of 2, and 2 boys, teenage boys. And so my own needs have been on the back burner for a long time, and I had a milestone birthday. And so I've really been practicing gratitude for myself with journaling and stuff. But for me, what I was thinking about, and as I'm listening and attending here, is just trying to bring that practice to others. So like with my own kids, I involve them, but also through my school. So this month it's January. And so I found a nice resource that has kind of daily actions for each day of the month. And I don't require or do a lot of extra around it, but just try to share that practice. You know, and so I'm doing it myself, actually putting it in my calendar, because I'm so busy worrying about everybody else. So I'm enjoying, you know, healing my emotional well-being and keeping my anxiety down when I'm responsible for so many who are really scared or going through lots of different things, not wearing and owning that all of the time. So, and so I also love to participate myself, and also learn to be able to share with other people if it can benefit them. I started building in mindfulness each time I meet with my staff. We do kind of a 1 through 5 check-in and do some type of mindfulness practice together. And while some might think, oh, I'm not really interested, I just invite. And if it can make a difference even for one person, I think it's worth it.
Give a minute to see if anyone has anything to share before we do our second round. We can have someone else pick another card for the collective.
I think Linda's already raised her hand.
All right. So Linda, we're gonna do the Wheel of Fortune. I'm just gonna go down.
Go to row 3.
Oh, wow. Got it right here. Uh-huh.
And let's do the second one from the left.
This one?
Uh-huh.
All right.
That's awesome. I'm telling people this is not pre-planned here. This is the beauty of beautiful coincidence.
Yeah, so we got number 10. It's the Allium triquitrium, very hard to pronounce. It's self-care, and it says, what can you do today and every day to nurture love for yourself? So definitely connected themes here. Linda, do you want to share what's coming up for you
Yes.
just looking at this?
I meditate every day, and I pray every day. And I do a lot of deep breathing. And a lot of this has continued since the beginning of the pandemic. So I know that I have to take care of myself because my husband and I are stuck in the house together. And we're doing really well. So I do a lot of self-care. So this is perfect.
It's that first wing of gratitude, self-care.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love how affirming it is for you, Linda.
It's very affirming. Thank you. I love the lights on the tree behind you.
Thanks.
Trying to think where I could put that in my house.
Nicole shares in the chat, self-care for me also takes the form of listening to a great podcast or taking a walk at the beach, taking in the view and smell of the ocean. Amy agrees. I don't think we've ever actually pulled this card, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah. It's an interesting how the nature is like speaking to us literally through these. What else comes up for some of you all? Anything?
I'd like to share.
Please.
I, like Linda, I meditate every day, and I also pray. And when you mentioned at the beginning about being aware of coincidence, a friend of mine told me once to call them God incidents. And so I do. I feel that they're put in my life for a reason. I'm not always aware of them, but I try to be.
Thank you for sharing, Teresa. It's nice to hear your voice.
Rita shares, self-care is being quiet and reading. Lori, I want to color the flowers on these cards. Coloring is a soothing activity for me. And there's self-care right there. Maybe that's a new thing, Belinda. We can create an adult coloring book.
You know, that's not the first time it's come up. So this might be the synchronicity that's needed for us to make it happen.
I can go.
Please.
And I'm sorry, I have a dog barking in the background. It's really annoying me and distracting me, but I'm a school social worker, and I am really good about teaching others about self-care, but I'm not so good about doing it myself. And this school year in particular, one thing that I've been doing for self-care this year is I've been getting a massage once a month, and I just schedule the next one when I leave and just keep going back. It's right down the road from my house. This lady does it out of her home, and it's so amazing. I just love it, and I wait for it every month to come up because it's so relaxing to me. And another thing I started doing recently is I got an Apple Watch because I got a new iPhone that had a really good deal on it. And there's this activity app on here where you close these 3 rings every day. Those of you that have an Apple Watch, you know what I'm talking about. But I joined a group with 3 other ladies, and we're holding each other accountable to meet certain goals every day through this activity app. And I really, really have been doing so well at it. And that to me is kind of self-care as well, getting myself moving, making sure I'm standing up throughout the day. And then the other one is what is the third ring? Activity, movement, and standing. Those are the 3 rings. So
I think there's definitely a big excitement for that coloring book there, Belinda, at least in the chat. You've got some,
I know Omar and I
got some
talking about. I know we're just talking about how we can support this community even more this year. So maybe we need to co-create a coloring book.
Well, the beauty of that would be the embodiment of the concept, the embodiment of self-care. By coloring it, we inhabit it. So I think that'd be great, actually.
Thank you.
In the chat, Amy shares, self-care is hard for me too. And
self-care for me also is cooking, making something good and nourishing to eat. And I do that a lot in the winter. I made a huge pot of soup yesterday, and it makes me feel really good when I eat it because it's got all these herbs from my garden. And so that's soothing and comforting for me.
I was just thinking about, Tammy, what you were talking about, since our worlds are similar, is that one of the things that I guess I would call it a challenge, but constantly thinking about, we, especially in our roles in support of others, is we're encouraging self-care and things like this and mindfulness. But there are those that becomes, and especially in the education world, the buzzword, or, oh, okay, now we need to do self-care, right? Eat chocolate, drink wine, that kind of thing. So sometimes I wonder about that in terms of how to, like I said, I invite and I try to model it, but yeah, I'm just thinking my mind right now about how to not maybe demystify and just really be able for people to see the benefits when it's hard for them to accept that into their practice themselves.
So at the risk of not following our own rules.
Be careful, Omar.
Yeah, I know. This is the prerogative of the facilitator. I think I'll just put it in this, like, my self-care is this practice, which is to do it in community. I'm really good actually at, I read a book on Born to Run, which inspired me to do the Couch to 5K, which then led me to running 2 marathons. And, that was at the age of 40 when I started. I stumbled into the practice of gratitude and it transformed my life. And then I built an app and, and it's led to, so much. So I'm really good at that. But I think honestly, having hosted almost 40 of these last year, it was Belinda and I coming together in December and really creating this space that for the first time I felt like I was creating the practice of gratitude that I actually wanted to see in the world. And, one of the original inspirations that I had was this Leo Tolstoy quote that everybody wants to change the world and nobody wants to change themselves. And I was a big doer. I was really good at changing things in the world. But I realized that ultimately that it wasn't about building the world that I wanted to live in, which had been my mantra for so many years. but really just being who I wanted to be in the world. And, and I think part of the challenge is that those that want to change the world are often very selfless. And so self-care is very difficult, for those that are selfless. But again, this is why I go back to the Leo Tolstoy quote: everybody wants to change the world, nobody wants to change themselves. And so, some of it is just learning to model it. And I think what I love most about this setup is that we are each our own experts. That's, I think, one of the most powerful things that we can give each other, is just that acknowledgement, so that we can be each on our own journey, but also recognize that it's a collective one. And so to me, it's exciting. I think every time we've hosted this, this is again only the fourth one, but it's more and more people, and it's new people and familiar faces at the same time. And this to me is the self-care that I want to see in the world.
You, Omar. I'm like just savoring those words, because it's been very synchronistic how Omar and I even connected. I was looking for someone to work with me around gratitude, and for me, self-care, it's hard. I mean, I used to be a school teacher, so I can really relate to Nicole and Tammy, what you're saying, and it's really easy to put our energy towards others, and also that kind of becomes a distraction for taking care of ourselves. And for me, what comes up is self-care also means like leaning on others. And I realize for myself, sometimes it's hard for me to ask for help, because I'm so used to like taking it all on, or like supporting other people, that I forget to do that for myself. And I think it's been a real blessing I randomly messaged Omar on LinkedIn, like, I need to find someone else that cares about gratitude. I feel like I'm alone trying to figure these things out, and sharing this really powerful practice that's easier than meditation. And so this is just a reminder for me in the moment of like, self-care also is like asking for someone else to support us. And it's a reminder for me in this moment, like, I can't forget that in this journey, because it's so easy to forget, even though it's like this word is focused on the self, it's not sometimes like we can't just give it to ourselves all the time. Sometimes we need it to come from other people. So just really struck by that. So what do you all think? Should we close on self-care, or should we pick one more card collectively? What's everyone feeling like?
One more. I'm seeing Nicole say one more. So Nicole, do you want to pick it? All right. I think you're on mute. There you go. One more. Joshua in the chat. One more. Cool.
Okay. Yay. I'm so curious what our message nature has for us today. So I'm going to scroll down.
Okay, so that bottom row,
this one or this one? The down here?
Yeah, with the third card in from right there.
This one? Okay. Wow. Number 9, Rose, vulnerability. It takes courage to be vulnerable. How can you show vulnerability to others? What can bloom from those connections? And I love this card because you kind of see the petals coming down a little bit. And then Arlene, the artist, writes, all shall be well. It's makes me feel held when I see that.
I'm struck by just the alignment between the 3 cards and how they build upon. And just with our conversation just previously about vulnerability and, what we say and how we need someone sometimes. This is like my favorite podcast is Brene Brown, both on Spotify and, and we actually as a whole staff read Dare to Lead, one of her books. And so, yeah, there's just a lot that comes up for me. Well, joy was what came up when I saw this, because every time I get to see more evidence of people thinking about and wondering, and I mean, that's raw to be vulnerable, even in this setting, to something that we haven't attended. Or so to me, this is like such a gift.
I wanted to add a little bit about vulnerability. I was thinking back to self-care and how I have found over the quarantine that I'm very good at helping others care for themselves, and that self-care is very confused in my brain with self-improvement. So that is going out and running 5 miles isn't necessarily self-care. So you have to sort of look to yourself. And I was like, I'm not going to share that. It's so silly. And it's sort of like my own little thing I'm kind of figuring out. But, and then vulnerability came up. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I do think that being vulnerable and allowing others to help you makes a huge, allows you to feel supported, or allows me to feel supported. And also just opens you up to others in a softer way.
Thank you, Amy, for taking on the courage to share that. Charlie shared in the chat, trust blooms from vulnerability. If we are supported in our vulnerability, we also learn to trust ourselves. Thank you. I think that's, I think for me, the three sort of words that really I ended 2020 on were joy, healing, and synchronicity. And so, Nicole, when you said that joy is what jumped out for you, it just brought me back to that sort of space. And I think this is what, to me, these circles are so powerful, is that how often are we given the opportunity to witness? And that's all we have to do. That's our only responsibility. And in that place, when all we're offering is witnessing, then there's no judgment. And that just allows us to really become even more vulnerable and more open. And I feel like you can't heal until you're vulnerable, right? Like part of vulnerability and healing is recognizing brokenness. And, what is it? Like, it's the cracks that lets the light in, right? Like, if we can't acknowledge the cracks, then we can't let the light in. And so to me, vulnerability is just one of those ways to just acknowledge what actually just is, and without sort of coming at it from a place of judgment.
Lori says, asking for help is self-care, and you need to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to ask. I love that.
Karen also adds, in Gifts of Imperfection, also by Brene, she connects joy, gratitude, and vulnerability to being our authentic selves. Lisa, vulnerability blooms healing. So if you haven't noticed also, one of the other participants in gratitude circles is silence. And I am one of the worst perpetrators of breaking silence. But I also just want to sort of acknowledge its role in these circles. And it does allow, whether it's just in the breathing exercise and giving us the spaciousness to just notice the inhale and the exhale, the giving and receiving of each breath, or just in the witnessing of people's comments. So just know also that it's by design.
It's our digestion time. So as a way to kind of bring us all together and integrate these beautiful messages from nature, vulnerability, healing, and self-care, I invite you to put your palms out into the screen. And let's actually put all our good juju in here. I feel like Mary's already doing that. And let's just put all of our love and our gratitude for ourselves into the palm of our hands. And let's get it all nice and charged up. And for those of you who are Reiki practitioners, you could put your Reiki in here, all your good juice. And let's beam this energy of gratitude that is being transmitted from each of our hearts. And let's just beam it out into this circle. And maybe you can even imagine the energy coming off of your palms through the screen to every single person in this circle, sending it out to them. And then imagining the collective energy coming back to you as well. And just feeling that magnetism and the power of this resonance that we've created for ourselves and each other today. And let's also imagine this energy being sent to our community, our neighbors, to everywhere in our country, especially the White House right now, and sending this energy all over the world, all around our planet. Just imagining every corner of this earth and the universe transmitting this love and this healing and this self-care. And just may we all continue to show up with open hearts and loving hearts for ourselves and each other during this time. And anytime you need this feeling, just you can always access it. It's with you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for showing up and being here in your presence. It's truly felt.
If you want to share in the chat a word or two of a gratitude just as you close or exit, remember, gratitude is just the simple practice of noticing good. And when we notice good, we actually feel good. And it literally rewires our brain. And so if there's a gratitude that you want to acknowledge or word that you're feeling, I invite you to just share it. And that's, I think, again, the beauty of a gratitude circle is you can receive what you didn't even know you needed. And that space is possible. Melinda, tingly energy, love it. Charlie, wonderful sharing this time with all of you today. Grateful for your presence. Denise, thank you for holding this space. Teresa, I'm thankful to be alive. Nicole, grateful for the open, safe, inspiring experience. Joshua, love. Lisa, thank you all for the energy, for sharing the space and sending that energy. Lori, thank you. Nicole, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We want to keep these going, and so we invite you to join us again next week. All are welcome. So if this resonated with you, feel free to share it with others. And you heard, we have the gratitude blooming cards with Belinda and maybe a coloring book on the way. We have our app, G Thanks, and just learning to tap into your thankfulness. And that's my hope, is that these circles provide anchor points to what are your daily self-care practices. And so, we can't be with each other all the time. And that's where the self-care and the daily practices, my thing is like, let's not go back to normal. Let's create a new normal. And that's what routines and habits and rituals are the ways that we can kind of provide that daily self-care. But my hope is with the gratitude circles is that we provide these anchor points to kind of re-energize, because we know that we all have great intentions. Most people will stop. I think it's like 70% of people stop whatever their New Year's resolution is within like 7 days. It's like a crazy number. And then almost everybody ends by February. And so, you know, having done this a bit now, community is one of those things that allows us to do it over time, sustain practice over time. And then we know that small steps cover greater distances than big leaps, because it's the small steps that allow us to kind of keep going. I know Lisa knows this from running. Just one more step, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're like, oh, I just finished a 5K. How did that happen? So again, thank you all. Appreciate you being vulnerable and courageous and being here. Cheers.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next week. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, much love.